Hello to all current and future viewers. My name is Tex. I'm part of business development at Authentize. We're hosting this really quick demo today to showcase Threads as a whole. I'll run through some general features, but also to showcase two new features that we've released in the last couple of weeks, which are Threads 3D, a 3D model sharing software, and it allows you to share and annotate CAD models. And then also introducing our Threads bot, which is an AI-powered tool which helps with automation of suggesting events, which I'll cover, and allows you to gather insights as well. So I'll just share my screen and start the tour. Cool. So this is Threads. This is the homepage. I guess the important thing to cover first is understanding what a thread is. And a thread in this case is just a digital space where you can collaborate with whoever you want and you're trying to accomplish some kind of goal. Now, it is geared towards engineers, but it can be used by anyone. And that's as simple as it is. On this homepage, you have three panels. So you've got a list of the threads that I'm currently working on. So they're my threads. But in this workspace, there are in total 117 threads. So these are, threads that your colleagues are working on. Now, on the left here, you've got some high-level information just on the status of your threads, so you can see which ones are at risk, which ones need attention, etc. And down here, you've got events. So I'll go over events a bit more in a second, but they're essentially any meaningful moment that's happening and being recorded in the threads that you're working on, and they get pushed to this panel here. What we'll do is we'll do a little kind of role play where, let's say you're working on a design project, we'll open a thread and talk through some of the features. So to start a new thread, you just click new thread there, and we'll call this one webinar part. Give it a description, part for webinar. I'm keeping this really simple. Select a tab. Let's go with webinar. So you can tags are good for classification of threads, so you can filter through tags later on. We'll say it's on target, we'll say it's priority low, and we'll make it private. Cool. So here's your thread. The first thing that you'd probably want to do when you create a new thread is add a contributor. So you'll see this drop-down panel here allows you to scroll between different features. This is where the contributors are. Just go ahead and add a colleague. Let's go with Pete. That will go ahead and ping Pete and bring him into this thread. And the first thing you want to do is maybe write a comment. So keeping it as simple as possible, saying, how much does the part weigh? And I should probably, in this scenario, let's say we're talking about the design of a part that we've been working on. Okay. Now, from this question here, what you can do is if I go to events, and as I said before, events are meaningful moments that happen when you're working on a project. So you can add events in three ways. Let's say we want to record the fact that this question was asked, and we want to note down whatever it results in. There's three ways you can add an event. The first one is manually. You can just do the plus button here. Now, the different types of events, they don't necessarily have to be questions. They don't have to be actions. They can be any one of these options that you think is necessary to record. So if an issue comes up and you want to record it, that's fine. If that issue is resolved and there's a resolution, that's also fine as well. So you can do the event manually. You can also do it manually straight from a comment. But the cool thing, and this is where the Copilot comes in, our ThreadsBot, is you'll see that this light bulb is lit up. If you go ahead and click on that, this suggests events automatically for you. So it makes it really easy to track the events that happen along a project, and you don't want to be constantly typing in descriptions and typing in different questions and assigning them to your colleagues manually. This really helps with that. So let's go ahead and accept that event, and you'll see that it's come up here. Determine part weight. Great. So that's been asked. You can assign that to people, so if it's for a specific person, they'll be notified. And let's say it was to me, I'll go ahead and reply, or you know what, let's go ahead and create an event and say an action. We want an action to be created, and it's weigh the part. There you go. In the description, we'll go weigh part, assign it to myself. Let's say it's not started and it's due today. That's how you go ahead and manually add an event. Let's say I've gone ahead and weighed the part. It weighs 123 grams. What you could do is you could go ahead and go into this event and edit it to mark it as complete. But what is a lot easier is going to the Copilot, and what it'll do is it'll automatically change the status from not started to complete. So go ahead and accept that, and you'll see that that's now completed, and 123 grams has been recorded as the weight. Now, to the actual part, because we haven't actually added a part to this thread yet. To add a part, it's really, really, really easy. So let's go ahead and call it webinar part, and references don't necessarily have to be CAD models. References can be any kind of data that you want to share. So you'll see there's two options here. One of them is a link. This can be a URL link to a website. This can be a Google Doc. We are currently integrated with Google Suite, or it can be a file. So if you go to file, to upload a file, let's go and find a step file. It can be a step file or an STL file for CAD models. Open it up, and you'll see there's two options here under integrations. One of them is an integration called Pliable. That's coming out in the next few weeks. It's really exciting. It's to do with molding, composite molding, but we've selected Threads 3D here. So if you add a reference, what it'll do is add this part to your list of references. It'll take a second just to process. But once it's in this reference panel, it'll be accessible to anyone that you've brought in as a contributor to this thread. So if you click this open, what it'll do, it'll open Threads 3D Viewer. So this loads the 3D part. Again, this is accessible to anyone that was a contributor to the thread. So you can take a look around. And the cool thing is that you can leave comments on the part. So let's say I wanted to add a comment here. You might want to increase the shaft length. This needs to be increased by 5 millimeters. Let's go with that. And now that comment stays there permanently for anyone to see. So if you click on the comment, your colleagues will be able to respond either here, or the comment gets relayed back to the Threads chat as well. So this needs to be increased by 5 millimeters. You can respond here, but also the Copilot again will suggest to create an event. This time it's an action. You can increase the create an event for that as well. The last thing to go through on the Threads Copilot is ThreadsBot. So ThreadsBot's really cool. It essentially collects all data from all threads that are currently being worked on by the workspace, and allows you to gather insights. So really simply, you can ask it, let's say, what does PDR stand for? And let's say you're not clued up about the acronyms being used. You can go ahead and ask it that. It'll have to take a second to think, and it should spit out a pretty simple answer. There you go. PDR stands for Preliminary Design Review. So that's a really simple example. But you can also ask for its opinion on things. So let's say, who is the best person to speak to about UI, let's say. And this will take a second, because it'll run through all information that's gathered from the events that occur and from the conversations that happen within each thread, and it'll find you the best person to speak to about UI, which is really cool. It's really useful, saves a lot of time. So based on the thread context, it seems that Chris Lauf, he's a guy from our company, is actively involved in discussions coordinating blah 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 blah. It'll tell you why he's exactly the best guy to speak to, which is really useful. The other thing that I wanted to show you about threads, this is sort of from a project management point of view, it gives you a really cool overview of your threads, is when you add related threads. So you can relate threads to one another just by clicking on a couple, and they get sent to the top. So these are the threads that you're relating them to. I can save that. And something that's really cool is if you go back to your homepage and click on Live View, it shows you all these relations from a higher level. So this isn't a particularly busy environment, so I don't have many threads going, but what this will look like when you do have a busy environment is something like this. So it gives you a really cool overview of exactly what happened in the timeline of each thread, what events took place, and how they relate to each other as well. So that's kind of the overview of threads that I wanted to go through today. I hope it wasn't too disjointed. I hope it was valuable. We always appreciate feedback, and go and check